Welcome to episode 67 with the Emotion Code Divas. And this whole month of April, we've been talking about addiction. So we've helped remove some addictions around sweet beverages, around cheesies, chips, and popcorn. We actually did the popcorn on me. I'm actually going to the movie theater this weekend.
Ooh.
So we'll find out. I haven't been thinking about popcorn at all. We worked on, with a viewer last week, we worked on releasing the addiction to alcohol. And today we are talking about releasing the addiction of chocolates. So I'm fortunate. I'm not really much of a chocolate lover. However, since I did buy this box of chocolates for my husband for Easter, he does love chocolate, doesn't have an addiction. This box has maybe lasted 2 weeks, but the viewer that we're working with today who actually has an addiction, she's very, very kindly allowed me to tell a little bit of her story, and you may or may not be watching. Anyway, her name is Tracy Blam, and I met Tracy through I help facilitate people to become trainers and guides for certified sacred gifts. So that's where I met Tracy. So she offers that. And through that, she's been watching Emotion Code Divas, so thank you. And we asked for a viewer, and she stepped up right away. She said, I've got a chocolate addiction. So I kind of like to find out what's behind, what are they saying the chocolate addiction is? And Tracy graciously shared her story. I'll tell you some of it. And then Helena and I are going to talk about inner child, the subconscious, what's really hanging out there. And I do inner child work with the emotion code with the subconscious. And Helena does a lot of inner child work with her hypnosis. So she's going to talk a little bit about that. So I do it with the emotion code. I'll do a little bit of that today. But so just a little bit of Tracy's story. She really does have an addiction. And the addiction here, any addiction is where technically it says it's a brain disorder, and that I'll just go back to what it says, that it's a brain disorder, but it's compulsive engagement in rewarding ourselves despite adverse consequences. And then it goes on to say the reward, it's intrinsically rewarding, is perceived as being inherently positive, desirable, and pleasurable. And I'm asking, is that at a conscious level? But what's going on at that subconscious level? Because that's where, Lena, do you want to just show that little iceberg diagram again?
Sure.
So we really operate with about 5 to 10% of the conscious mind, but the rest of it, the 90 to 95%, is what's in our subconscious. And from Dr. Brad and everything that we've learned from his Emotion Code book, new book coming out, I'm looking forward to it, it's coming out next month, that these emotions can get trapped in conception from a father or mother. We can look a little bit further back, although Dr. Brad doesn't talk a lot about that, but if it comes up, I go with it. But everything that's happened over the span of your life. So Tracy says that when she's highly stressed, and this might be you, Tracy's watching, thanks Tracy, she might eat 2 to 3 chocolate bars a day. She gets a sugar migraine, she has some Advil, and then she keeps eating the chocolate. That would go in the addiction category, where it's compulsive, you can't seem to stop it. If there's no chocolate around in the day, she'll go out and find it. Now, what Tracy found interesting is all her blood tests show that her sugar levels are fine. So that makes me and Helena just went, if it's not showing up there, then for us, it's at a very subconscious level, and it's trapped in emotions and these negative emotions. So Tracy shared a childhood story about growing up very poor, and she can remember, this is a memory that she has, that there were 4 kids, and when her mother had a bit of money, she would buy a Mars bar and cut it up into 4. So that memory, whoa. That memory to Helena and I says so many things. However, we're not here to judge it on a conscious level. That's the conscious story, right? So I'm going to go ahead and do a little bit of work on the subconscious, but before we get started, we'll typically we go through the 7 keys that we're going to do, but we're not going to do that today so much. I've got Tracy's permission. I'm going to be your proxy. I have permission to do that. I'll be using, Helena, you've got your magnets. Well, you don't need them today, I do. But Tracy, I didn't ask the question about the severity. So we asked on a scale of 1 to 10, how serious is this? Um, oh, that's beautiful, Tracy. So she says it's a 10. We always check with the subconscious. Tracy's just said, weird, I'm sitting here crying for no reason. And, I always say to my clients, like I'm getting a bit teary here, please don't minimize what's going on in your life or how something has affected you, because it's your life, it's your soul's journey. I have no right to judge what's going on. So if the tears come, that's good. I always think tears are a way of releasing, and I can definitely very much feel something in my heart from reading that, Tracy. So thanks for that. And I'm just going to make a few comments here on that. But Helena, you and I were talking earlier about some inner child hypnosis that you do. So could you just share what that is briefly for the audience?
Sure. So when I work with my clients and we're doing hypnotherapy, there's 2 main techniques I use. One is called age regression, regressing to cause, because your subconscious mind stores all of your memories. It knows all the information. It's a supercomputer. So it can go back to the original sensitizing event, the original reason for whatever we're working on, that habit, the addiction, the feelings. And the other way is through parts therapy. Parts therapy is that our subconscious mind is made up of many different parts. There's a part of Tracy that is eating a lot of chocolates, and there's another part of Tracy that's come to you and says, but I don't want to eat all that chocolate anymore. And so there's a contradiction from the conscious mind, the mind that says, I don't want to eat the chocolates anymore, to the subconscious mind where it's in charge and it goes ahead and eats the chocolates. So through parts therapy, what I do with my clients is we find the part that's responsible for the habit, the belief, the actions, the behaviors, the emotions, whether it be a fear of flying or anxiety, or in this case, eating lots of chocolates, nail biting, smoking, drinking, all that kind of stuff. And I actually have a conversation with a part that's responsible for that behavior. And then I have a conversation with the part of the subconscious mind that wants to change the behavior. And then there's some negotiation that goes on there while the person's in hypnosis. And then either the part that was doing the behavior, often it came into being as a protection mechanism. So somewhere along the ways, a part of you came into being that created a certain habit, a certain belief, a certain way of being, because it was there to protect you during a situation or a time in your life. But often that part came into being under the age of 10, and it's still running its same program. So we're able to use hypnosis to change that program and get all parts of the subconscious mind on board with a new behavior. Just with my client on the weekend, we were doing some parts therapy, and a part of him agreed to make the changes, the healthy changes, to help him stop smoking. And when I asked at the end, just to make sure that the subconscious mind was willing to accept this new part's behavior and this new part's job, it said no. And I knew that something was up. So I asked for the part that knew all about what was going on. And a part that came up was called suspicion. You see, suspicion didn't trust the new part's behavior. And when I double checked my work, sure enough, a part that had agreed to switch sides and work with this person to make them smoke free actually lied and said, no, I'm not going to help. And at that point, what I did is went, okay, time for you to go to the light. If you're not going to help, it's time to go to light. And then when that happened, suspicion went, that's good. We've got this. We know exactly what to do. We've got Dan's back. We're gonna help him just be smoke free. And at the end of the session, when it was all done, Dan, my client, who was like 50 years old, he just had tears streaming down his face, and he was like, "Oh my God, thank you. That part was killing me." That was his words. And he goes, "I got this. I'm good. I'm never going to smoke again."
So that is
Very,
like
very powerful.
very powerful. And yeah, and those tears are definitely part of that release. So what I'm going to do, and we've kind of changed our Emotion Code Divas show a bit. Oh, you know what? We didn't even say we're the Emotion Code Divas. All right, I'm Dana Smithers, Helena Jenikin. We are the Emotion Code Divas. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and I've got permission. I'm going to become Tracy's proxy. I always do a prayer. I have a prayer that I like to do before so I get connected with source, and I do that. And then I have my emotion code chart here. Helena, if you want to hold up the chart, I'm just going to get ready here. So I'm just going to become, yeah.
So
So what I'm going to, yeah, go ahead.
I've got this chart, the emotion code chart that Dr. Brad put together, and it has 60 negative emotions on it. It's divided into two columns, A and B, and there's 6 rows. There's 5 emotions in each cell. So what Dana's going to be doing is looking for negative trapped emotions that are causing Tracy's chocolate bar addiction. So she's going to be asking, are they in column A, the trapped emotions, or
Yeah.
column B?
So
And on
Helena,
the
you can just hold that up, and I'll just start off, and then we won't keep the chart up. But just for people, even if you're trying to do this yourself, you can learn it. But so I'm going to ask the question. So I've become Tracy's proxy. I've connected. So I've done, am I Tracy? So that's a yes, I'm Tracy. So I'm going to go ahead. So the first question I'm going to ask, do I feel it's safe to give up this chocolate addiction? Absolutely no. So the next question I have to ask is, are in all right, I want to release some trapped emotions around feeling it's safe. Are they in column A? I'm going to ask that question, or are they in column B? So I get that they're in column A, and I'm going to ask the question, are they in an even row? No, they're in an odd row. Are they in 1, 3, or 5? I go back 3, so they're in 3, and I'm asking the question. So 3, is the trapped emotion I need to release? Is it crying, discouragement, rejection, sadness, sorrow? What I'm getting a strong click on is discouragement. So I'm going to ask the question, did this trapped emotion of discouragement, is it mine? So right away, Tracy, this trapped emotion of discouragement is not yours. So I'm going to ask, did this trapped emotion of discouragement, did it come, so this would be during conception, did it come from my mother? I'm getting a yes. Did it come from my father? I'm getting a no. So I'm just going to ask, on your mother's side, is it directly from my mother? Yes. I could ask the question, if it said no, I would ask if it's mother's father's side or mother's, but this discouragement is directly from the mother. I'm going to ask the question, so this was during conception. May I release it now? Yes. Do I need to know any more? I don't. So because it's inherited, I'm going to do 10 swipes of the magnet. So what I'm doing here is just, Helena, do you want to just explain this while I do it?
Sure.
Where I'm doing it, so I'll do the 10.
Yeah. So what Dana's done is she's found the negative trapped emotion and she's releasing it. And what she's doing is she's using magnets and swiping it over her governing meridian. The governing meridian, based on ancient Chinese acupuncture, is the main meridian that starts underneath the nose and goes all the way to the top of the tailbone. So she's taking the magnets and she's swiping over her head, affecting all energetic points on her body, allowing the emotion that's popped out of the physical system, the emotion that's probably the size of a lemon like this, and is popped out of the physical system, and by using magnets, which are energy, she is dispersing, getting rid of, canceling, deleting this energy, and so it doesn't go back into the physical body. So you'll see Dana testing, muscle testing. I think she tests like this. That would be a yes, and that would be a no. I test like this is a yes, and that's a no.
So I'm going to continue on. Are there any other trapped emotions that I can release that allow me, Tracy, to know that it's safe to let go of this chocolate addition? Yes, there are. So are they an A? No, they're B. They're even. No, they're odd. They're one, they're three, they're five. I'm going to do this fairly quickly. So
Yep.
they're in three. So I'm going to go through confusion, defensiveness, greed, self-abuse, stubbornness. The first one that comes up is confusion. So I'm going to ask the question, confusion. Does this belong to me? So again, this one doesn't belong to you, Tracy. So I'm going to ask the question, was this inherited on my mother's side? So I'm getting a yes. And I always just check on my father's note. Was it directly from my mother? I'm getting a yes. So I'm going to go ahead and ask the question, can I release this? Yes. I'll also ask the question, do I need to know more? So this is where Helena and I, or anyone doing emotion code, may ask you for a little bit of your story. We do not have to know your story, because remember that your story is often at a very conscious level, and where these emotions are trapped is at a subconscious level. So I'm just going to ask the another question here. Okay, is there anything else that I need to know? So I'm getting a no, so I just go ahead. That was on her mother's side, so I'm going to do 10 again. Lena, maybe you can say hello to a few people while I
Yeah,
do
I'm
10
just
here.
actually, I'm actually saying hello quietly to these people, but to our viewers, but I'll say it out loud. So we've got our lovely Natasha Paula Samuel. Hello, Natasha. One day I know that we will meet in person.
And I'm
You're
just going to
from
keep going
the
on removing some here while you check on that. So
excellent, good. Yes. She says, hello, Dana and Helena. Glad to be watching live from cloudy Runford, Essex in the UK. It's a little cloudy here too on the island where I live. And Tracy, I know that you're having the session right now, and as Dana's doing the work, you'll be feeling some things called like what we call processing. That's just the emotions releasing out of the body. Some people feel lighter, freer. Sometimes there's a few tears that are shed, just another way for that energy to come out. After the session, you may feel like you just, a little bit of quiet time, maybe a walk in nature somewhere, maybe a Epsom salt bath or something like that. Just allow those emotions to settle out of your system. And I've got my friend Tanya Lockwood. She's watching. Hello, Tanya from the United States. And Jeff Maxwell is there saying hello to us both. Also, Jeff is from the UK. Hey, Jeff, tell us where you are in the UK. We've got a few UK visitors that tune in once in a while. And Cheryl, hello, Cheryl. How are you today? And also, we've got our good friend Leslie. Leslie Marshall is watching. And Tracy's saying is makes so much complete sense. So much tingling and feeling of exhaustion, which is, I believe, a deep release. Yes, everyone experiences the emotion code differently. Um, I actually have a couple of clients that are pretty professional energy workers, and they yawn while I'm doing the work. They just, oh, and they yawn, and they're just releasing. They feel so good, and they, like you said, it's probably a nice deep release. So, yes, yeah, it's a pronounced yawn. Yes,
okay, so I'll
very
just
interesting.
go back to a few other emotions. I'm staying with, is it safe? I keep asking the question, are there any more trapped emotions that I can release to make me feel safe? And I got quite a few more, so I'm just going to, so the next one that came up, Tracy, was the trapped emotion of defensiveness. And then the next one is called a psychic trauma, where two trapped emotions are together. So that one lemon that Helena had, imagine that there are two lemons, and sometimes they can be the size of a cantaloupe. And this can also be what causes headaches, what causes chronic pain in your body. I was working with someone yesterday that had chronic pain in her knees. So it can physically show up as pain in your body. It doesn't just have to be a mental thing that you're feeling or just feeling a bit of nausea. So just be aware of that. So this was shame and shock. And I was asked to ask more about it. So this trapped emotion of shame and shock, the psychic trauma, came around 36, 37. So when we're working with someone, I usually ask them, does anything resonate with you about that time? If they want to say something about it, if they want me to ask more questions, I will do that. Otherwise, I just let it go at that because I've released it. The next one came up as a trapped emotion of longing. So this longing happened around the age of 20. So that often means longing for, there it is. And actually, while you've got that up there, Helena, Dr. Brad has also indicated which organs or glands this is in. So in row 6, which is where the longing is, it's around your glands and sexual organs. So this is also because I like working with the chakras and I like to release the blocked energy and chakras. So you're looking at your sacral chakra as well as your root chakra. And a lot of that is not only your sexual energy, but gets into relationships. The root gets into grounding, to feeling safe. So that came up as longing for you around the age of 20, and then overwhelm came up. So the next one I'm going to do, so I'm just going to leave that because, again, just because of the time, limited time on the show, I'm just going to ask quickly, are there other trapped emotions that can still be released? So the answer is yes. And Helena and I know that because these are fairly short sessions. But I'm going to ask one final question here. So as Tracy, am I ready and willing to accept these changes? Okay, so I've got a no on that. So that's a bit like what Helena was saying with that fellow she was working with to stop smoking. So your subconscious is not quite ready. Yeah, and so there's more work that can be done with that. But I do think that a lot of what's going on for Tracy and a lot of people that have addictions, it goes back to your childhood.
Yeah.
And it goes back to those relationships you had. It often goes back to your relationship with your father and your mother, or one gal I was working with the other day, she was left at an orphanage. Very sad story. She was a twin and was in, yeah, anyway, it's just a story, but it was just sad. So of course she would have a lot of issues with being an orphan and going through that her whole life. So yeah, we honor the emotions that come up and we just work through them. So I'm just gonna, yeah, so go ahead, Elena, I see you've got some comments.
So Tracy's actually made a comment when you found that trapped emotion. At 37, she opened her clinic and her mom had told her that she was going to lose everything. And that she was quite stunned that quite a few family members had sided with her mom, including her husband. And so you could see how that could actually create some negative trapped emotions in the physical system if they are unprocessed. And Tracy's asking what her next step is. And so what her next step would be is you can work further with us as we're emotion code practitioners. Our sessions are usually 25 to 45 minutes, maybe an hour, depending on how long you want to work. And then we can really go in depth and release a lot of stuff, layers and layers and layers of stuff, so you can move forward. And as you move through the layers and layers, and it's never just about the chocolate. It's never just about whatever the pop, the sugar, the smoking, the drinking, or whatever. We work on the different layers so that you can really heal at a very deep level. It works quite rapidly, and what I love about the emotion code is there is not a lot of story there. Mm-hmm. Sometimes we need a little more information, but there's just a little bit. So yeah, it's very, very rapid. I love adding it to all of my hypnosis sessions, including my stop smoking and any other clients I'm seeing.
Right. And then, Helena and I do emotion code. We're both emotion code divas. We are, but we're certified practitioners. But we also have other tools on our toolkit. After a session for me, I like to offer a Reiki session. I just do it distant. I just ask that the client after the session, just find a comfortable place, and I'll spend about 10 to 15 minutes just doing distance Reiki for them, just to, lower the stress levels. And then usually I'll just send them a message on Facebook or something and just saying that the session is complete so they can go about their day. So whatever the processing looks like for you, just allow it. Helena said, and I agree, it's always good to get out in nature, get grounded, literally put your feet in the ground. Another technique that I learned with Reiki is actually rinsing your hands under cold water and having a glass of cold water. It just grounds you. So I do that after all my Reiki sessions, and it's just a good thing to do. Run it under cold water. Sort of also brings you back, that cold water does that. And yeah, and we're always drinking water anyway. So Tracy, I hope that I hope that does help. And yeah, so next week's show, I think we decided, Helena, you and I, we're going to stay on with one addiction.
Yeah.
And even though next month is all about business blogs for entrepreneurs, on May 1st, we're looking for somebody that has an addiction to their cell phone. Like they're just in love with their phone.
There may be social media. They're just, checking their phones all the time.
Excuse me, Helena, I just have to check this right now, right?
Yeah,
that's an addiction.
And during the session, I'm like looking, but no, I'm actually checking to see who's.
And who's how many times I'm sure you've seen that you go into a restaurant. My husband and I know, no phones, right? You're sitting there looking at a couple they've ordered, and the next minute, the whole time, before waiting for the meal, they're both on their phones separately. So if that's you, step up just like Tracy did for this. Either PM us or just let us know in the post that we put up. So that's it for now. Have yourselves an amazing week. And Helena, how can people find you?
People can find me through my website, which is flourishhypnosis.com. Find out more about the emotion code. Just go /emotion code. I've got a Facebook page, Flourish Hypnosis, as well as a YouTube channel.
Right. So all of the programs are on our YouTube channel. So mine is Empowered Women in Business. But my website is danasmithers.com /emotion-code. And Helena is also an expert and becoming very famous as the Stop Smoking Lady. So if you, now we don't recommend that you advise somebody else to check us out, except for the show. Please do that. Please share whatever. But if you say, well, my husband smokes or my partner smokes or my mother smokes, I'm going to sign them up. I think this is the word that comes up. Mine is permission. Yeah, we like to have people's permission before we need to have people's permission before we work on anybody. I know many of us would like, we definitely see that people could use help, or we know they could benefit from a session, but until they that big word is decide. Yeah, it's not really going to work, because the right energy is not around that, right? That's law of attraction. To try something, no, you're not in.
Yeah. Hey, Dana, we've got our volunteer for next week.
Oh, excellent.
Tanya Christina Lockwood, we will help you.
Excellent. All right. So Helena will be doing the live session next week, and we'll have some good conversation about that. So in the meantime, enjoy being alive, get out in the fresh air. Weather's getting better all over the country. So so we'll see you in May. Bye for now.
Bye.